Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition. For tonight headlines, we have exchange meeting with the Secretary Generals of the multisectoral contingency playing for nutrition. An oil tanker briefly blocks the Suez Canal in Egypt. Welcome to our newsroom. Since the establishment by the Republic of Djibouti of a national policy to fight against malnutrition, and by the same occasion, the implementation since 6 months of the multisectoral committee on nutrition, indeed, this issue has been one of the priority within the framework of the multisectoral approach at all levels. The strategy and policies in terms of nutrition have been elaborated in order to promote multisectoral activity and to strengthen the establishment of a partnership in this file. It is within the framework of that the Ministry of Health through NACO and the Directorate of Mother and Child Health organized yesterday morning an exchange meeting with the Secretaries General and focal point of the partners' technical ministries. The main objective of this meeting, which gathered about 10 ministries, is to exchange with the high officials of these public structures on the multisectoral contingency playing for nutrition. The meeting was chaired by the Secretary General of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Saleh Benoita Turab, in the presence of the coordinator of the NACO project, Ms. Nim'a Musa Ali, and the Director of Mother and Child Health, Ms. Fatuma Ali Abdallah. The meeting room of Djibouti Palace, Kempinski, hosted yesterday morning the third meeting of the steering committee of the Regional Migration Fund for project aiming at improving the living conditions and creating economic opportunities for migrants, refugee population, and host communities in the IGAD region. Is this third meeting organized by the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, brought together the IGAD Executive Secretary General, Director of the IGAD Health and Social Development Division, the Director of Health and Social Development, the Director of the IGAD Health, and the management agency of the member state, head of the East Africa division is at the German Federal Ministries for Economic Cooperation and Development of senior project managers of the KfW, German Development Bank, and the IGAD Migration Team. The IGAD Regional Migration Fund is a unique intervention to address the social and economic challenges of migrants along a migration route and people living in protected refugee camp in our region. The objective of this steering committee meeting are to review the progress. Listen, the Executive Secretary of IGAD.
It is an honor and privilege for me to preside over this, the third annual meeting of the steering committee of the IGAD Regional Migration Fund. Allow me to say how delighted I am on behalf of the IGAD to receive and host you all physically here in Djibouti after 2 years of confinement to virtual meetings most of the time. And IGAD appreciates your continued willingness to commit your time and mobilize political, financial, and technical capital on behalf of our most vulnerable population. Dear colleagues, as we all aware, migration still remains one of the most pressing issues in the IGAD region, and it is actually the final manifestation of the complex and multifaceted problems that we are gripping within our region. In other words, most challenges in IGAD region leads to migration. In response, I remain encouraged that the Regional Migration Fund remains one of the most reliable and visible mechanisms we have at hand to address not only the challenges, but also the opportunities arising from this challenge, that is migration. For the last 3 years, Your Excellencies, since the establishment in 2019, the Regional Migration Fund has carved out a niche as one of the IGAD programs that directly address and intervenes to target the root cause of forced displacement and irregular migration in our region.
An important meeting took place on Wednesday in the meeting room of Djibouti Port Community System in Djibouti International Tower, PICA 23, between the Director General of the Central Laboratory of Building and Equipment, Mr. Rahima Ahmed Musa, and the Director General of the DPCS, Mr. Warsama Muhammad Bouh. During this meeting, the two teams reviewed through television the projections, all the process on the use of the electronic platforms capable of interconnecting the various public and private entities in order to facilitate the procedure to the customers of the port community, allowing them to gain time, transparency, and especially efficiency. Thereafter, and after warm discussion, the Director General, Mr. Warsama Muhammad Bouh, and the Director General Rahima Ahmed Musa have proceeded to the VIP room of the towers of DIFTZ on to the signing of the framework agreement of partnership establishing the relationship of collaboration between the two entities for the digitizations of certain services of the Central Laboratory of Building and Equipment, and to refine the modalities of joint actions that they can undertake. Finally, both parties reaffirmed that their willingness to continue their exchanges in an ongoing manner. The sub-prefectures of the 2nd District, in collaboration with the Commune of Bulaus, organized on Thursday morning an important meeting concerning the fight against drugs in the premises of the sub-prefecture of the 2nd District. First of all, a working visit was carried out by the sub-prefectures of the 2nd District and the Commune of Bulaus, where drugs were sold with the help of the ADR and OVD by their heavy machines. The objective of this meeting is to fight against the consumption of drug products among the youth in some district of the Commune of Bulaus. This meeting was chaired by the Deputy Prefect of the 2nd District, Mr. Aibe Hared Gadid, and the President of the Municipality of Bulaus, Mr. Ali Adawa, the Honorable Member of Parliament, the Head of the Police Brigade and the fight against drug, the head of the Gendarmerie Brigade of Ingela, and the local elected officials and the leaders. Finally, this meeting was closed with the participation of everyone to put an end to this scourge that is growing in our society. For his part, the Chief of the Vice Police and Fight against the narcotic told the population to work with us to eliminate this drug. It is a vast net operation. Yesterday afternoon, these operations of the conductors was the gendarmes of the judicial units, in close collaboration with the mobile gendarmerie, have conducted a large-scale operations in Wadi of Umbuli. Indeed, since this at last times a network of drug trafficking and extortions in organized gang is installed in this sector, where the inhabitants and the owners of the gardens of Humbuli are the first victims. They had allowed to the arrest of 39 suspected drug traffickers, most of them in possession of knives, but also the seizures of 3 cups of cannabis herbs dug up from the grounds where they were hiding, identified in the criminal file of the gendarmerie. Most of the presumed members of this network were known for the similar fact. At the end of the investigation, the suspect will be brought to justice to answer for their actions. It should be noted that several other operations of the same kinds are already planned and will be executed as soon as possible, and these are on the national territory. The regional center of maritime training of Djibouti hosted in the day of Thursday, September 2, 2022, a closing ceremony of training entitled Rule of Maritime Law, which took place during 2 weeks in the same centers, and from which benefited the staff of the Djiboutian Coast Guard. In addition to Colonel Waas Omar Boghore, commander of the Djiboutian Coast Guard, and many officers of the institutions, the ceremony took place in the presence of Ms. Habon Mohamed Ilmi, international officers of Djibouti at the Regional Center for Fusions and Maritime Information based in Madagascar. The training, which brought together Djibouti Coast Guard the personnel from the Judicial Brigade, the Transmission Services, and the Commando Unit, was provided by experts and trainers for the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. The aim of this training was mainly to study and practice the ways to strengthen the coordination means for an effective fight against all illicit traffic at sea.
Perfection is not the aim. What matters is what we achieve. Operational outcomes are driven by cooperation. You've all demonstrated that this week, from the beginning, where we were 3 separate streams, to our final exercise yesterday, where we integrated maintenance, law enforcement, and maritime domain awareness to achieve an outcome. It has been extremely pleasing to see that development as we've gone through. Not every course achieves that. The learnings on this course, not everything was new to everybody. Not everything you may have learned would be useful. Particularly apologise to the MLE team for my terrible French. However, things that you thought were not useful at the time may prove to be useful many years from now. We've alluded to the fact over the last 2 weeks that there will be an international exercise in the Seychelles later in the year. I encourage those of you that are taking part to integrate the learning from this course and ask yourself the questions that were raised during the training you achieved. What are the legal ramifications of my actions? The effort you've all displayed this week is exemplary. The course was not easy. There were lots of concepts. There were lots of information to absorb. The days could be long. There was new content and new ways of working. Your efforts were not unnoticed by any of the instructors.
Now listen, Colonel Waas Omar Boghore, commander of the Djiboutian Coast Guard.
For me to take part in this opportunity at this closing ceremony of Maritime Rule of Law training. It is a pleasure for me to take part in this opportunity at this closing ceremony of Maritime Rule of Law training and top table exercises for maritime law enforcement personnel that are the first to intervene in all groups and in all personnel working in this domain to combat all illegal activities that happen on the sea, thereby providing them with training for the purpose of to strengthen their means of coordination, cooperation, and sharing their noble mission. I take this opportunity to renew our gratitude and our appreciation to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime for their constant support for our organization. Finally, I congratulate the participants in this course for their success, and I encourage them to put this knowledge on the ground to do their mission correctly.
In the afternoon of Wednesday, August 31, the CDC of Tajura hosted the finals of GST, chaired by the deputy directors of the region. The event saw the participation of several finalists in this competition who showed during the course of tournament their talents and fair play while being disciplined. Also, the competitions were an opportunity for young people to discover the traditional games and its concept through the presentations of experts. After the finalists, trophy were awarded to the winners of the 3 disciplines, the Burda, Koso, and Haila. In addition, the winners will participate in the grand finals inter-regional to be held in Arta. Recalling that the launch of the GST took place in Arta, where the Minister of Youth and Culture His Excellency Dr. Hibo Mumin Asowe gave the kickoff in the presence of the authorities from 5 regions. In the morning of Wednesday, August 31, the CDC of Arta hosted the finals of traditional games chaired by the Deputy Prefect Muhammad Fauzi Ahmed Asowe. Alongside the deputy directors of the region, Said Madeye, the event saw the participation of several finalists competitors who have shown during the course of tournament their talents and fair play while being disciplined. Also, the competitions were an opportunity for young people to discover the traditional games and its concept through the presentations of experts. After the finalist trophy were awarded to the winners of 3 disciplines. In addition, the winners will participate in the grand finals inter-regional to be held in Arta, recalling that the launch of traditional games took place in Arta, where the Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hiba Mumin Asowe, gave the kickoff in the presence of the authorities of the 5 regions. However, the aim was to only to organize the summer tournament, but also to carry out the work of collecting data of traditional board games for the safeguard and transmission to the new generation by putting documents written by experts that will allow to revalue this cultural heritage in perdition. Djibouti abounds in tourism sites. Today, several places have made their appearance. Ideal places they would reveal to any Djiboutian to the soul of these unsuspected countries. Spend weekends would be ideal to be in communion with the natures. In the north, white sand, Godoria, Raspir, Ditilu, Bankwale, Randa, Boli, and Adailu. Today, several places have appeared, such as Lubatanle, Bolli Subla, ideal for an escaped. First step of this adventure, the white sand, a corner known to the general public and which makes the happiness of thousands of Djiboutians and many others swimming in the clear turquoise waters, walking in the deep and with a very favorable climate. An ideal place to spend a good days at the seaside with your family and enjoy the calms of the place. Next step, Boli Subla, a strategic place located on the long corridor of Tajara, Balho, also very good altitude, It is a nice place. We invite tourists like Boli Subla. Today, me and my family in the tourist camp of Boli, we are very happy to spend the weekend here without forgetting the beach of Luatale, a marvel corners of paradise. On the development of the tourist camp, we interviewed with the prefect of Tajora.
بسيان توماتي معنى كنا الحبيس
هجيني شيء أبغى أروح بعيني تاكل بول.
For the international scene, an oil tanker briefly blocked the Suez Canal in Egypt. An oil tanker was briefly blocked in the Suez Canal in Egypt. The incident, which occurred on Wednesday night, raised the fears of a major blockage of the global shipping route similar to the one last year. The Affinity 5 Iran aground and in the Suez Canal, security sources told Agence France Presse saying that maritime traffic had been restored after a short period of time. So the incident was caused by the technical damage to the ruders, which led to a loss of control of the vessel. The Suez Canal authorities said that the 16,000-ton tanker was successfully refloated. Eurozone inflation is hit new record in August. The inflation in the Eurozone hit a new record high in August at the 9.1% year-on-year. Eurostat announced Wednesday putting pressures on the European Central Bank to raise interest rates soon. Inflation had already reached 8.9% in July for the 19 countries sharing the single currency. These figures are the highest recorded by the European Statistics Office since the indicator was first published in January 1997. Since November 2021, the rise in customers' prices has reached a new historical high each month, while the war in Ukraine is fueling a surge in energy and food prices. To close up this edition, Joe Biden denounces the extremism of Donald Trump and his supporters at the midterm election approach. Joe Biden called on voters to defend democracy against Donald Trump and his supporters. Joe Biden, in a rare direct attack on his Republican predecessor, denounced Thursday the extremism of Donald Trump and his supporters, blaming them for undermining the very foundations of American democracy in the city that was the cradle of it. The Democrat was held his first meeting as a presidential candidate in Philadelphia, also known that the state where the city is located, Pennsylvania, may hold the key of the November legislative elections and thus the continuations of his mandate. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.